This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Comedy saved my sensibilities. I guess that's what I would say. It saved my sensibilities. My mother certainly gave me purpose and reason to wake up every morning, but I was in a rut. I was in a rut where I didn't have light.
Yeah.
Comedy gave me light.
Are you caring for others while working and trying to live your own life? Wondering how to find the time for your own health and happiness? Well, you're in the right place. The Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast, which is part of the Whole Care Network, is the show where real family caregivers share how to be happy and healthy while caring for others. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Elizabeth Miller. I'm a fellow family caregiver, a care advocate, a professional speaker, author, certified caregiving consultant, and certified senior advisor. If this is your first time listening, thank you for being here. This is a show produced bi-weekly to help family caregivers integrate self-care and caregiving into their lives. Each episode has an accompanying show notes page. If you'd like more detail about the topics, products, and resources we speak about, or you want to see any of the related photos, you'll find the show notes by going to the website happyhealthycaregiver.com, and underneath the podcast menu, click the image or episode number for today's show. The link for the show notes will also be in your podcast platform's episode description. Now let's get to it. Let's jump into this episode. Hello there. Thanks for joining. And before we get into this episode that I know you're going to enjoy with Jay Smiles, she's a real treat, I have a couple announcements I want to share. We talk about it a little bit in the episode, but I want to invite you to the cruise. If you don't know about the Self-Care at Sea cruise, it's happening in October. It's a 7-day Norwegian cruise on a new boat, Aqua. I'm looking forward to going to the US and the British Virgin Islands and the Bahamas and the Dominican. Whether you are a person who loves cruising, you are a caregiver, you are work in the healthcare space, you don't even know if you like cruising, you are invited on the Self-Care at Sea cruise. So I'm going to share the link so that you can check out all the details and see if this is a fit for you. I want to thank our episode sponsor, Rare Patient Voice. So I have been delighted to work with Rare Patient Voice for the past couple years. What I like is that they help family caregivers and others earn cash in exchange for their opinion. So Rare Patient Voice, or RPV, helps connect researchers and with patients and family caregivers for over 700 diseases and conditions. If you want to be a part of their panel and have the opportunity to earn cash for your opinion, you go to rarepatientvoice.com/happy healthy caregiver. You enter in your information, you're a part of their database, and then they will send you notifications of when there are things that you are qualified to share your opinion for. So check it out. For this episode segment of what I have recently read, I have a great audio book recommendation for you. I recently read The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. I totally judge books by their cover, and hers always shine for me. Every family has a past. We know this as caregivers better than anyone. Ruby McTavish was born rich, and she was a victim to a famous kidnapping and then a widow 4 times over. Her adopted son, Camden, wants nothing to do with the house or the money. He'd prefer to keep teaching in Colorado and starting his new family with his young wife, Jewel. Eventually, they get sucked back into the family fold, and this is where the questions and the truth start to unfold. Lots of secrets and twists and many unlikable characters. Don't go into this looking for something believable. It's purely an escape drama read. And the length of this was perfect for me. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I'll link to it in the show notes. My favorite thing in my house right now that I am using all the time is my air fryer. So my husband and I are empty nesters. Our air fryer gets used I don't know, every other day at a minimum. If you don't have an air fryer yet, I'm wondering, what are you waiting for? This kitchen appliance has been a huge time saver for me and my husband, particularly when we're only cooking for the two of us right now. I just don't think they make these air fryers big enough yet for a really large family. You need to have enough space on the bottom of your air fryer where everything basically can touch the bottom and not be stacked on top of each other. Think about things that you would pull out of the freezer, like chicken nuggets and french fries and tater tots and so forth, but also things like salmon and shrimp and chicken, basically anything I have found that you can put in the air fryer. I recently went on ChatGPT and I asked for a meal plan and I asked it for it to only be using the air fryer, and I cooked a whole week using just the air fryer. It was amazing. So we make a lot of things. We love the frozen chicken nuggets for some quick protein with a side of rice and a salad. All those frozen that you would normally throw on a cookie sheet, they go in the air fryer. And you can also do great, yummy roasted vegetables. Think like zucchini and Brussels sprouts and carrots. The options are endless. I'm going to link to the Power XL, which is the air fryer that we have. Again, we have the large one, so check it out. Jay Smiles has been a caregiver to her mom, living with Alzheimer's and NPH for over 13 years, an unexpected journey that began after her father's sudden passing. Once a globe-trotting consultant who could barely keep a plant alive, Jay found herself overwhelmed and facing serious health issues 18 months into caregiving. A wake-up call from her doctor led her to explore self-care through stand-up comedy. In this episode, Jay shares how comedy became her lifeline, helping her cope, advocate for caregivers, and bring joy to others walking a similar path. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome, Jay, to the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast, fellow Atlantan. I'm excited to have you on the show and to chat about all of the things. Thank you for being here.
It is my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we kick off our shows with, some mindset type of stuff to kind of get us in a good space. This is stuff that I have put together in the Happy Healthy Caregiver jar. So I'd love to get your thoughts on this before we kind of roll into our regularly scheduled programming here.
Okay.
So it says, I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying. And that is from basketball superstar Michael Jordan said that. So I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying.
Okay. I can roll with that.
Yeah.
You know what? And to be quite honest, I'm proud of him for saying he could accept failure, because I tell you what, when he was on the court, it didn't look like he could accept failure there. But I guess life in general, he can accept failure, right? He's showing us that he is human. And even though in basketball, he was considered God by many, in life, just regular everyday things, he can accept failure, but he cannot accept trying.
Yeah.
I got to admit, I can swallow that pill. I'll take that medicine.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, listen, we all fail at stuff, right? Life is messy, but I do think, and I just heard something the other day about learning new things and trying new things is a way to ward off dementia and Alzheimer's. So we've got to kind of use our brains in different ways and learn new things. And so if we think we're going to be good at everything, we're never going to try anything.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I have failed at more things than I've succeeded at. That is the God's honest truth. But I will admit that I didn't know probably until my 30s that I really had a penchant and a fancy for perfectionism. I didn't know it. I'm sure those around me knew it and could have called it beforehand, but I wasn't a person who was like, oh my goodness, I have to get a 10 out of 10 on the math quiz or the spelling bee, or every hair has to be in place before I go on a date, or my shoelaces have to be tied just so before I leave the house. So because I didn't have those idiosyncrasies, I guess I didn't see this perfection thing. But I'm going to tell you where it was holding me back in parts of life. It was, I didn't want my ideas or my new business ventures or this new thing I wanted to do, or maybe this new project I wanted to show my boss. It wasn't quite ready yet. Yeah. I was queen of it's okay, I'm going to show you in a minute. I'm going to tell you in a minute. It's not quite ready. And dude, the amount of things that never launched out of my brain because it's not quite ready yet in my 30s, I have said, you know what, girl? First of all, How the hell do you know if it's ready or not?
Right.
You don't even know. Maybe it's already done.
Or what if someone has something that they could add to it that could make it enrich it and elevate it even more in some way? I hear what you're saying, and I too have that where especially if I'm going to put my name on something, my brand on something, like I want it to be well thought out and done. But I also spent my career in IT, and we had this philosophy that we were trained on to test and learn and iterate on things. Honestly, I think, I too have failed in many, many areas of this Happy Healthy Caregiver business. And I think part of that, though, was just putting it out there and testing and learning. And it's like, well, just get it out there and then you can kind of tweak it. And so maybe, and I think the same thing is true with caregiving, with parenting, with so many different things that a lot of our listeners are faced with. So yeah, we're going to keep it real here today. Well, let's talk, Jay, about your caregiving story. So share a little bit about your caregiving story with us and all of the people's lives who you are enriching and testing and learning a lot, probably.
Okay. How long do you not have my caregiving story? I'd like to start, Elizabeth, with, for those who are Christian, I am the Jonah of caregiving. I could not have wanted it less. Now, and I say that because, yeah, of course, none of us would like a person that we love to have a disease or an ailment or a spinal cord injury that makes them not able to be independent. That goes without saying. Honey, baby, sweetie pies, anybody who is listening or watching this, I didn't want to take care of nothing. I spent decades making sure I wouldn't be anybody's mama, okay? I didn't have a pet, a plant, or property on purpose. I was real good with renting. I could afford to own something palatial, and my credit was good. My debt to income ratio was spectacular. I didn't like the notion that something alive was going to depend on me, because that meant I was going to be accountable and I had to show up somewhere every day. And I ain't like that. I am a free bird, a free spirit. Now, I wouldn't call myself a classic hippie or a wanderer, because I have a thing for creature comforts. I want a certain kind of thread count on my sheets, and I do want a room service and things like that. So I was in corporate America and did all those things, but you'd have to know my life before becoming a caregiver for people laugh and say, what? Jay has lived in one place for more than a decade, one house, and driving the same car and eating the same kind of food.
Well, I was going to ask you how because I think you've been caregiving like for 13 years, right?
Yeah, 13 and counting now. We're 13 and counting.
And I was going to ask you like how you changed, but it's clear how you changed.
What didn't change is probably an easier answer, is what didn't change. So just the 90-second thing that occurred was I'm an only child, unmarried, on purpose. So I don't want anybody feeling sorry for me. I have had a very fruitful and loving dating journey. I have met, I don't want to sound like a whore, but I've had very meaningful relationships with men throughout my life, and, got to know the mamas, but it went as far as it was supposed to go. And so my father had a very abrupt, massive heart attack and died on the couch watching a football game. He was healthy. He was in his early 60s. He was still working. He was a very nationally known, prominent, acclaimed trial lawyer. He founded the National Cochran firm with the lauded Johnny Cochran Jr. And my mother was home watching the football game with him. My parents were still quirky enough to snuggle and watch football games after I don't know how many decades of marriage. It was chilly because it was January. My mother goes to their bedroom to get a throw. She comes back and my father is no longer breathing.
In an instant. Now, oh, my goodness.
The wonderful thing for my dad is he suffered not 1 second, according to medical reports. And that's what he always wanted. Is it okay if I say an expletive?
Yeah, we'll just mark it as I can't even say the word. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying what he said. He always said, baby, I want to effing drop dead. He's from New York. I just want to effing drop dead. I don't want nobody wiping my butt and I don't want to be on a cane. I don't want to be drooling. That was my dad. And so he did get his wish. And in my moments of despair, I am grateful that he did get what he wanted. But so dad passed and dad left a lot of moving parts because he wasn't winding down. He wasn't about to retire.
No signs.
There were no signs, right. And so he was actually the president of all the Cochrane firms. So there was like 20 plus offices all around the country. So
wow.
And as a lawyer, I'm looking around, so I need to assist in that in some way. But within 90 days, the shock and the trauma of that event, my mom coming back and how quickly my dad left and the manner in which he left, really, it thrust her into early onset Alzheimer's. In NPH, so normal pressure hydrocephalus, also occurred. So that's another form of dementia. So within 90 days, my
Say
mother...
that one again. Normal pressure
hydrocephalus.
Hydrocephalus.
It really just means that your body stops to regulate the cerebral fluid around your brain properly.
Wow.
It happens to a lot of people, well, a lot more than we know. I say that. You can live with it, but depending on how far it goes before it's caught, whatever damage is done can't be reversed, right? So if you lose some motor skills, some memory, some cognitive function before they put in the brain shunt to start regulating it for you, it's kind of like the brain's pacemaker.
Okay.
But you can't get back whatever you lost. And so my mom, bless her little heart, her little system just spazzed out over how my dad left. I think not just that he left, but how he left. And so within 90 days, and my mother was a very prominent business person as well. She was a forensic accountant, a CPA, a expert witness. And what she did, she had her own consulting firm, but what she did, she was the first woman to do what she did in her own firm in the nation, not just first Black woman, first Jewish woman, Indian woman, Caucasian woman, any kind of woman to do what she did. So she had cases on the books, Elizabeth. She had a staff. And so there was just a lot happening. So I just want to...
And you have two badass parents, I got to say.
Yeah. I tell you what, when people, that notion of each generation do something to improve, I said, absolutely not. I am not improving upon the two of you. The best
don't hold me to that.
I said, hell no. What I'm going to do...
than they're having.
I am going to do my best to not bring shame on your name and stay out of jail. That's my two.
Yeah.
But nobody is trying to beat what y'all did. First of all, you did too much. Overachievers, and you both did it. Can't nobody do all of that. Leave me alone. Goodbye.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine, purposefully trying to only be responsible for myself, and then literally overnight, am responsible for what my dad was responsible for, because I thought my mother would handle my father's affairs, and I would just kind of be her Robin or her Girl Friday or her sidekick sometimes. I was like, oh, she'll just call me if she needs me to,
I'm here for you.
Yeah, I'll do the thank you notes because she's badass and she'll be able to do whatever it is that she needs to handle with dad's estate. Turns out she couldn't do none of dad's estate, and she couldn't even handle her business affairs. And then I had to figure out what was going wrong, what was happening with her, because initially what was very scary is it just seemed like she was a widow who was giving up on life.
Yeah.
And so many of the physicians who saw her initially thought, well, Jay, it may be hard to hear, but you've never been married. When people have been in love like your parents, sometimes their spirit is broken, and your mom, they just may be giving up on life, and you have to just get ready. And I'm thinking, bull crap. I hear what you're saying, but that's not what's happening.
Your mom. You're the expert in your mom.
Yeah, like I know her, and this is not just sad.
Right.
It's not just sad.
Good for you for pushing and advocating.
I'm like, she's standing. The real thing that gave me the chutzpah, the unmitigated gall to push back against all of these fancy white coat people was when she was standing in the kitchen making a sandwich. She was very clear, cognitively. She was speaking clearly. Everything she was doing tracked. She was making the sandwich, but she was putting the bread where it needed to be. She was putting the mayonnaise, the lettuce, everything. But urine was running down her leg. It was puddling into her shoe and running over onto the floor, and she didn't notice it. She didn't feel it. And I said, okay, game on. Screw these doctors. And sorry, Jay, you no longer have time to mourn your dad. You got to just put that in a box and you'll come pick that box up later. But right now, game effing on. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And then overnight, you're gone from being this free spirit, don't even own a plant, to taking, how are things now? Like, what does it look like now for you, Jay?
Now, I am very grateful that I have a pretty well-oiled machine. There were more bumps along the way in creating this machine. But I would say we run a small city here. We laugh about what it takes to take care of my mother, but there are 4 caregivers, a massage therapist, a exercise therapist, a hairstylist, and a nail tech that are all
coming in and out of the house.
Going in and out of the house. And they all consider, we call it, it's Team Zeddy. Everybody has a role and everybody has been involved for years.
Yeah.
And everybody knows everybody knows how she should be acting and how she should look. I also should say her dentist, her podiatrist, these are all people who have been a part of her care for years.
Yeah.
Such that they know if there is a change in her behavior. Now, it took forever to find individuals with the heart, the patience, the acumen, the desire to dig in and understand my mother's journey enough to give her the care that she needs as a human who has a medical need plus dementia. Because if she needs to come to a podiatrist, that's just a foot problem. Plus she has dementia.
Yes.
They don't have, you can't go to, I haven't heard of anybody who has training
dementia podiatrist.
like a dementia podiatrist.
I mean, maybe someday, I have to take my brother as neurodivergent. Some of the things I learned as dementia caregivers apply for him too. But yeah, it's a whole experience. But good on you, Jay, for you were committed to kind of putting together what I call this sustainable system. And I love the term you running a small city. Are you the mayor? Are you the mayor of the city?
Sometimes. I would more say that Zeddy's actually the mayor, believe it or not. And maybe I am president of the city council.
Okay.
Because what's hilarious, Elizabeth, is the people that I name will check me in a minute. If they don't think that I am doing what needs to be done. If they think that, let's say if they...
Hopefully it comes from a place of love, right?
Yeah, I've decided to believe that.
Yeah, I do. You have to assume good intent in people or you will go crazy.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. They have, but I will say this is I consistently give all of them tremendous credit and ownership in their position. And I let them know, and I mean it, that my life doesn't work without each of them.
Yeah.
There is no way that I can have a life outside of being a caregiver if each of you don't take your position on Team Zeddy very seriously. We have to communicate. You all have to communicate with each other and with me. So the massage therapist communicates with the exercise person.
Okay.
The exercise person communicates with the caregivers. It's important to me that all of them text each other. Don't just tell me.
I was going to ask what method. Okay. Yeah, because it informs how they need to do the massage and how they need to show up for the people. Well, amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm
you do
grateful.
You need your own team, Jay, of people too. So how are you, in addition to being a full-time caregiver, I think you also do comedy. Talk a little bit about that. Were you a comedian before caregiving, or did the comedian, the funny stuff come out of your caregiving story? What happened there?
Amazing question. I am a professional stand-up comedian. That's hilarious. Please don't edit that out. Leave that. A comedian. I don't
Say
even
that
know.
again, though.
I don't know what that word is. I was trying to say comedian, and it just
Okay,
no. My tongue decided to do something snazzy.
you're a snazzy stand-up comedian.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am only because of that calamity that I described occurring with my parents.
Okay.
I will double down on it, letting you know, without naming any names, but a multitude of my parents to that point trusted partners ended up being non-trustworthy during what was the darkest hour of my life. And then
Jerks.
correct.
Yeah.
Members of my mother's family sued us. This is all within the first 12 months of my father passing. And when I'm attempting to determine what my mother's ailment is, because at this point, I didn't realize that dementia could be triggered by an external event. So I didn't start off going to a neurologist. I didn't know if it was cancer or diabetes. Like I had no idea what could create
Why
these
would
types
you?
of
We don't
symptoms
learn about this stuff. Yeah.
at all. So what happened, the real truth, happy, healthy caregiver. I wasn't happy or healthy initially. I was just a
No.
caregiver. I was
No.
an unhappy, unhealthy caregiver.
You were super good at that. We all are. We all start that way.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And my doctor said I had a few events that looked like I had a stroke.
How old are you, about just to kind of put in context, not now, but back when this was all going on where they thought you were having a stroke?
I was 42,
Okay, so early 40s.
and I had I had one really drastic medical event where it's funny now to me. I sped walked into a large window, you know, like the cartoons, and they're like
Like a bird.
boom, and I
Yeah.
splat and I hit the window and just like an ironing board to the ground, and I couldn't move and I couldn't get up, and all I could think about was, God, please don't let my mother find me, because then that would mean she found my dad, and then she found me, and then that just feels unfair. Because at that time, I had one caregiver that would come during the day only when I had an outing, and I wasn't a comedian at this time. I didn't have a podcast. I
Okay.
was simply trying to get a handle on my parents' affairs. I had stopped
Yeah.
doing previous to my parents was a lawyer, an engineer, and a product designer, and I had woven together a consultancy that I
Okay.
did
So still
between.
trying to work while figuring out this stuff with your dad's.
Yeah, but I
that
would. Yeah,
whole-
but I stopped doing my own stuff. I stopped doing my track. I was doing it between Africa, Europe, and America. The engineering, law, product
Wow.
design. But I stopped doing that, and I was only managing my parents' affairs, trying to get my hands around it. But that's when I walked into the wall. But I couldn't make my body stop. I was alert in telling my body, like, "Hey, you don't do that. Don't. That's
Yeah.
a window wall, girl. Why would you do that?" And like splat, boom, hit the ground. Okay, get up, move. And I couldn't. So ultimately I get to the hospital. My doctor thinks basically, girl, you are headed towards stroke land if you don't make some changes. And the language that caught my attention was, you will die before your mother if you don't stop what you're doing.
So at first, it wasn't even for you that
No.
kind of got your attention. It was like, Mom needs me.
Yeah.
Jay, you've got to figure this out so that you can be there for your mom. She's
I was
experienced a lot.
correct. I was probably I was over a year into being a caregiver. I was maybe 18 months, bordering on 2 years into whatever this new normal was. And I'm not proud of it, but I am very okay with admitting I had a unhealthy
Yeah.
relationship.
You were burned out.
With Remy Martin Cavassier, 1738. I had a very unhealthy relationship with it.
Is that an
And
alcohol?
yes, it is. It is. It is a cognac.
Okay.
And I drank it over ice in the summer, and I just drank it in a coffee mug in the winter. And I was so stressed and so high strung, Elizabeth, that I didn't even get inebriated. And I didn't drink like that prior to becoming a caregiver.
Yeah.
I might have a beer or a glass of wine, but I was drinking this like it was
A
my
coping
beverage in the morning
mechanism.
and in the evening because of what I was balancing and managing. The point is, they had told me, hey, your numbers aren't going well. You got to take better care of yourself. I said, okay. But it was when my primary care said, you're going to die before your mom. I said, well, that's stupid. That's stupid.
So what were the changes that you started to make there?
I stopped the Remy Martin 1738.
Okay.
I stopped putting half and half in my coffee.
Okay. So small things. Like, let's just tweak some small
Yeah, because I
things.
wasn't really eating. I was just drinking those two things. So my cholesterol and my high blood pressure and everything was going up. And she said I needed an outlet. So what happened was I was looking for something to do to be around people who didn't know me. Know what I was going through. I didn't want anybody feeling sorry for me. I didn't need anybody saying, oh my God.
How do you do
Oh,
that?
how do you do it? Your dad died, then your mom got sick. You had to give up everything. You had to move home. Poor you. Have you been on a date? You probably never gonna get married now. So, yeah. And I used to travel like a lot. And so the traveling stopped like on a dime. I didn't go anywhere. I traveled a lot for work and for pleasure. So I bought a boat so that I could go fake like I was traveling. So I would just go out to the lake and just drive really fast and scream.
One of our lakes, because there's not a lot of water here in
Nope.
Atlanta.
I bought a boat and went around one of our lakes in Metro Atlanta and just scream like I was in the Caribbean. Do that for like an hour and then come back home. And then in looking around online for a hobby, something to do, like maybe wine tasting or cheese making or paint and sip, I saw a 6-week stand-up comedy class.
Nice.
I took the class. I thought I was just going to meet some new friends and take a little stupid comedy class, and I fell in love.
Where was the place? We'll shout it out if it's still there.
It's not still there, but it was the Improv in Buckhead at the time. It is since closed, but it was the Improv in Buckhead, and it was amazing. Comedy saved my sensibilities. I guess that's what I would say. It saved my sensibilities. My mother certainly gave me purpose and reason to wake up every morning, but I was in a rut. I was in a rut where I didn't have light.
Yeah.
Comedy gave me light, but
Nice.
I didn't talk about my real life because it was too painful. So when I started comedy for like the first 5 years, I did not talk about my real life at all.
Nothing about caregiving.
No, not about caregiving. I didn't admit that my mother had Alzheimer's. I didn't admit that my daddy was dead.
You were looking at it as like a detached way to escape your life completely.
100%. I didn't say nothing about my real life. There's two different people. And then the pandemic happened.
Okay. Yeah. And you're gotta like, okay, now I'm in my life and I'm trying to do your comedy.
And I couldn't do it anymore because there's nowhere to perform.
Right.
So the world closed down, and as other caregivers can relate, we had another layer of paranoia and not wanting to give the virus to our LOs, right? So it's whether your LO was in a facility and you might have had a chance to just go stand by the window and look at them, or if your loved one lived with you. Either way.
I love LO, loved one, yeah.
Yeah, LO, loved one, right. I can't be the one to actually jeopardize their life. And that's where the podcast came. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. It came to me like a bolt of lightning one evening where intuition, that divine voice said, you have to do a podcast. I said, no, I'm not. It said, yes, you are. And I was like, whatever. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And then for like the next 3 or 4 weeks, every day, it said, you're doing a podcast, you're doing a podcast. And I was like, why? It was like, the world is fighting to get toilet paper and people are dying. What am I doing a podcast for? I don't even know how to do this. I don't even think I can get the equipment. Like, I don't even know. And I heard very clearly, you're doing a podcast as a comedian who is a caregiver for other family caregivers. I was like, well, that's a niche. what a slither. Clearly I'm not going I'm not going for worldwide domination here.
Yeah, you're going to be the next, like Joe Rogan on caregiving.
No, and I tried to ignore it, and it just kept coming. And so I said, all right. So for sure, being a caregiver came first. I'd never had being a professional stand-up comedian on my bingo card, but once I started doing it, it felt very natural. It felt very comfortable. It's something that I love. I am grateful that my journey turned in this direction.
Yeah.
And I'm also I feel very fortunate to have the Parenting Up community and have the podcast that allows me to share, because it makes the journey less isolating and it makes the pain less intense.
Yes. You slipped it in there, but the podcast is called Parenting Up.
Yes.
And of course, we're gonna link to that. It's a win-win, Jay, because you needed it. You found this outlet of a way that you could turn your health and your happiness around. So you kind of saw your meter, hopefully, kind of tick, 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 back towards the other side. And then we need it as family caregivers. Like we're desperate to put some more intentional laughter into our lives. And so then you can kind of step out of your body and be like, yeah, this is funny. You can't make this shit up sometimes.
At all. 100%.
And just when you think you've got the hang, like, nope, we're going to throw you another funny for the day.
Yeah. It has been the podcast sharing. I will just say this, because that's what stand-up comedy and the podcast have in common. It's sharing stories. It's storytelling time. You are, in one case, I'm giving other people a platform to share their stories. So maybe I'm listening or I'm holding space for a community to share their stories. Or as a performer, I am curating what I've heard or observed from the world and giving that back in some story form. But it's the same thing. You're still saying, hey, world, these are stories that I've had the great fortune to witness and absorb. And I'm going to do my best to give them back.
Story sharing is a form of advocacy.
Yes.
So you're getting there through a funny, drawing people in, like, come for the laughter. But then it's real and it's raw. And you're like, behind this laughter is a person that is, caregiving for another human being. And it's hard.
It's so hard. You're not ready for it ever.
No. There's no book, and especially, in something like dementia, one person with dementia that has dementia type of thing. So now that you have the podcast and, the world, is opened back up, are you doing more stand-up events in person, or is it tough because you're caregiving for mom and, she's continuing to kind of advance there?
Another amazing question. Thank you.
You're
it's
welcome.
actually both, I would say. When the world opened back up, the really cool thing was people who were fans and supporters of the podcast were like, hey, we want to see you and meet you. And lots of organizations had put a pin in their meetups, conferences, conventions, and they were chomping at the bit to get back together live in mass and in large groups. And so the advocate in me, and I'm originally from Montgomery, Alabama, I have to say that.
Okay.
So that idea of getting good trouble and you're here to serve others more than you're here for your own needs. Not only, I think maybe part of it, I came here like that, but then I grew up in a town where you're fed that at breakfast, and that's a part of your bedtime stories. My mother marched with Dr. King. My grandfather was one of his foot soldiers and one of his chauffeurs when they were trying to keep him safe during the Montgomery bus boycotts. I've always heard that if you see something that's unjust, you're supposed to say something. You're supposed to get in it right away. It doesn't matter if you know the people. You're not supposed to worry about what's going to happen to you. Just
do the right thing.
Do the right thing. So I got so excited that dementia care, Alzheimer's, and caregivers were getting some shine. that I was like, yeah, I'll go anywhere. If you all are willing to listen to what caregivers want or need or just have to say without you don't have to make us any promises. I'm just so happy you're giving us, even if we don't have a seat at the table, if you're just going to let us in the room to stand, breathe, and exist, to take up space, Jay Smiles and the Parented Up podcast will be there. So the first thing that I found that was new when the world opened back up was the number of clients and opportunities that came for the podcast. Because obviously before the pandemic, the podcast didn't exist. So that was a vacuum that I said, okay, well, let me go with this momentum and do that. So then that took up a lot of time and space. And then in the middle of this, mom has a stroke and she had 2 seizures. So then that caused a very necessary shift in my schedule. And so as far as stand-up, I have been very intentional about picking and choosing cities to have what I'm going to call limited, like they say with streaming, a limited series. So I'm going to say a limited city tour. So I've been doing like 5 city tours. So I'll do like a limited city tour and say, hey, Jay Smiles is going to come to these 5 cities in these 5 weeks or these 4 weeks. So
I see.
So that my fans know this is where I'm coming. These are the 5 dates, the 5 cities I can commit to because whatever is happening with Zeddy, I have let the whole world know she comes first. And I don't want to ever give the impression that I'm willing to sign up for anything different.
Yeah. You're a caregiver first and a stand-up comedian second, and you're figuring out the sweet spot of how you can do these things and still keep your city going at home for Zeddy. And yeah, it's a lot. Well, I appreciate, and I use one of my favorite words is intentional, because I do think as caregivers, we got to be intentional. Like there's so much that's outside of our control, but we have control, about how we show up and where we show up and when we show up and how people can behave around us and not behave. And so, yeah, we do get to decide some of that. And you've worked hard to kind of put these systems around you in place so that you feel comfortable, in these pockets to be able to do that. So how do people learn about your tours? Where's the best place to go and kind of learn about that?
Thank you so much. So two best places.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Right. So one is that you can be a part of my text community. It will always have the latest and greatest. And because I have several business numbers, my team would say, don't get the freaking number wrong, Jay. That's right. You can text 404-737-1449.
371-1449. So they text that and then they'll get an automated response of some sort.
That is correct. And it doesn't matter where you live in the United States.
Nice.
Right. You'll and I'm the only one that responds. I really like this particular service because I'm the only one that will respond to it. So you'll know really inside stuff about shows. If I'm going to be in your city, it allows me to curate things for certain cities, certain states, or if I'm saying, okay, I'm doing something that's caregiving, or I'm doing something that's comedy, or I'm going to be on TV, or I was in the newspaper in your city. Things like that. And then
I was on the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast.
100%. I was with my girl, Elizabeth Miller.
And I love the push to the text because it's like caregivers are busy, but if someone wants to know what's up with you, they want to know what's up with you, and you make it super easy for them to say, here's the information you requested. You don't have to go read your emails and weed through all that and, see all of the other yucky stuff that's going to kind of bring you down maybe sometimes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And with this text, I am never selling your anything anywhere. And you're only going to get what's related to me, not related to somebody I was on a comedy show with. You're not going to also start getting their comedy shows up like, hey, I didn't really come to see that guy. I just came to see Jay Smiles. Why am I getting his flyers? No, that won't happen. The other thing is my website, Jay Smiles Comedy.
Okay.
But I think
that too.
I believe that the easiest is
the text.
Is the text system.
Nice.
And I'm on social media. I'm on YouTube. I think moving forward, though, probably the most substantial ongoing social media will be either my own webpage or YouTube.
Nice. And I'm sure they could go out to YouTube and see some clips that are going to make them
Yeah.
smile.
Yeah.
In the moment, if you need a smile,
That's
go out.
right. That's
Go out
right.
there. So we'll link to that too. I love that. That's very accessible self-care. I want to ask you, Jay, a couple questions from the Just For You Daily Self-Care Journal prompts.
100%. Before we say that, I just want to shout you out. I want to say to whoever's listening how wonderful Elizabeth is,
Oh, thank
how
you.
organized and professional she is, which is so difficult to do with anybody in this caregiver space taking care of anybody other than themselves. It is just so hard. We have so much to do because this is the thing. As a caregiver, we can never fully plan. I don't care
No.
how long we've been in this space. I don't care how many apps we have, what time we go to bed, if we meditate, if we drink beetroot juice, if we vegan, if we only meatitarians. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We could be, yogis, or we could be in therapy. Something's going to happen every day that we could
it's an
not have prepared
adventure.
for. And I just want to shout you out as being such a light, such a
Thank
calm
you.
spirit, and being such a wealth of knowledge and energy and resources that those of us who are part of the caregiver universe really see you, and we appreciate you. And I
Thank
just
you.
want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. It's uncomfortable sometimes when people tell you all the nice things, but I really appreciate. Honestly, Jay, like I'm creating what I wish existed for me. So it's a little bit, it started out in a selfish way, but I appreciate that, it's hopefully scaling and we're all reaching other people. And I love our carepreneur space, our caregiving entrepreneur space, where people have their own niches. I love the mindset of abundance, where people are not like, oh, if you're listening to this podcast, you can't listen to that podcast. No, there's space for all of us.
That's
we
right.
can all be successful. Caregivers need to hear it in different ways at different times. I don't know that we would have had this on our bucket list, but we certainly, I think, feel like it's, improved our lives for the better, I think. So I appreciate that. Okay, first question. Now you got me all choked up here. Let's see. What celebrity would you choose to spend the day with?
Okay, does it have to do with caregiving or just?
No, this is just your self-care. Who would you love to spend the day with?
Okay, wait. All right, this is about my self-care?
Yeah, just you. We're only talking about you.
Shamar Moore.
Who?
Shamar Moore. He's my life crush.
How do you spell that?
Shear Moore.
I got to look her up.
It's a guy.
I got to look him up.
He's hot. He's hot.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with me I mean, he seems to be a great guy, but this is just me saying.
You're just going to look at him?
Yeah. And he's single. So, who knows what happened.
Okay.
But
nice.
he is a television and movie star. He is the longest crush I've ever had. Like, I come in and out of crushes with everybody but him. I've had a crush on him since the first time I saw him.
Well, we're putting it in the universe. So.
Yeah. And so when you said self-care, I was like, I feel like I would have a lot of self-care. Just looking at him and talking to him.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you this. I have a ton of respect for him because he was also a caregiver.
Bonus.
Yep. He was an only child, a mama's boy. His mother, if I'm not mistaken, she's no longer a human on earth. She passed away a few years ago. She had multiple sclerosis. And he, even with a career that was doing, better than average, right? He started managing what he would and would not accept based upon being able to not just have caregivers with his mom, but times where he wanted to be the one to take her to the rehab or the therapies. And that just made my crush go through the roof.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. Like, there's people like where I'm like, oh, I liked him before, but now, like Rob Lowe, same thing. He was a caregiver. I'm like, oh, yeah, he was a cutie before, but now, like, you're better looking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rob Lowe would be second for that very reason. Yeah.
I know.
And then
gets better with age.
Rob Lowe. Okay, no. Actually, it would be Shamar Moore, and then it would be Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest. But Shamar Moore. Shamar Moore is it.
Okay.
Final answer.
Okay, good. Let's see. I got one more question for you. How about favorite vacation spot? You need to just totally unplug. Where are you going?
Totally.
Or one of them. I know it's hard to be like, well, this one's,
Bora Bora.
Have you been?
Yeah, I went once right after grad school from Stanford, and I was there for a week.
Wow.
I have not been back, but every other place, I mean, travel is oxygen for me. I figured out something, well, my best friend helped me, but we figured out that travel fuels me, and then I come back home
Yeah.
and pour into people. Even if, whether I'm relaxing or have an active vacation, it doesn't matter. That I get poured into. I'm really an introvert. Nobody really believes it. But anyway, I'm an introvert. And so when I travel, I get poured into, and then I'm able to come back to the United States and then pour out. And then I got to go away. So I don't care where I'm going. It doesn't have to be, something that everybody else thinks is, oh, that's sexy and exotic. Like, no, I could be going to what is considered to be, why would you go there? Like, there's no running water. I was like, yeah, anyway, I got to get away. But it is so unpluggy. Right? So many places are beautiful or attractive, but they got distractions. It's too much to do, and I love experiences, Elizabeth. Like, and to me, this is the best, worst thing for me to hear. This is the only place you can do this. It might even be a lollipop. This store has, red candy cane, daisy flavored lollipops, but it's the only store in the world with them. Well, now I got to get up, and they only open from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Well, now I got to go get in line for this dumb lollipop.
Yeah.
I don't even like lollipops, but if it's the only one, I gotta go.
Yes, I get that. And I hear what you're saying too about places where you can really, really unplug. And I felt like that. It's been a long time, 29 years, but we did our honeymoon in Bermuda, and I felt like that about Bermuda. There really wasn't really anything to do. And so our whole goal was to kind of just go. And we decided at the beginning of the week we were going to work down the frozen drink menu, and that was kind of like our goal: sit on the beach and do that. So there wasn't a TV in our room, there wasn't anything. It was amazing. And we at the time we said, oh, we're going to come back here every 5 years, but then also you get this, you want to do new things. But travel, I do feel like it ignites all of your senses, and again, you're learning something new. It's good for our brains. It's all of that. So Bora Bora makes great sense. So
yeah, Bora Bora. I'm a ocean. I'm a water baby. I mean, my sign isn't water. I'm an earth sign, whatever. For whatever reason, if I'm in the ocean, all my problems go away. Like immediately, if I'm in the ocean, like everything fades away. So,
well, it's a great plug for the Self-Care at Sea cruise, Jay, which is happening in October. Me and several of care advocates are hosting this 7-day Norwegian cruise on their new ship Aqua. So maybe I'll plant a little seed for you and for the other people listening to check out the cruise. And I have enjoyed this conversation. I don't know where the time has gone. We got to wrap it up. But I love this story. I love, because I think sometimes we think like, oh, there's this whole narrative around caregiving that it's, woe is me, and it's so heavy and there's no joy in it and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no, that's not the narrative here. This has been very hard. And it is, there's the improv thing, right? The yes and it has brought you a whole new career path, this sense of adventure, making people smile, and the podcasting. So thank you for your vulnerability and for sharing, and for everything that you do. People are going to be running over to kind of look. They're like, I need to laugh, or I'm going to go look that up. So we'll link to all of the things in the show notes. Thank you for you. Thank you for you.
I appreciate the opportunity to share and to serve. Thank you so much for acknowledging the efforts of the Parenting Up community and of Jay Smiles. You nailed it so much. It is very hard, but it is not a death sentence to be a caregiver, right? Unfortunately, prognosis of dementia can feel like a death sentence for both of you. The LO, or as they say, the caree and the carer.
Yeah.
But that's not the truth. And what I know deep in my heart of hearts is that Zeddy, which is my mother's nickname, the nickname I gave to my mother, Zeddy would not want me to stop living.
No.
Now, it did take a minute for me to figure out how to live in this new normal. But she had to figure out a new normal when she was my parent. And then, when she became a working woman back in the 70s, when that was very new to be a working woman and a parent, and you weren't supposed to be anyway.
Yeah.
So
you learned from her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the case. So the notion is just to be grateful. For me, my goal is to just be grateful that I get the opportunity to love on her. I mean, that is easy, but I just give it the best shot I have each time.
Amazing. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.
Hello, podcast listener. If you're caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia, you don't want to miss All's Authors podcast, Untangling Alzheimer's and Dementia. I'm your host, Mary Ann Shuko, a registered nurse, author, and dementia daughter. In each episode, I interview one of our 300-plus authors about their personal dementia story and why they chose to write about it, sharing intimate details and painfully obtained knowledge to help you on your own journey. We share a variety of stories across all diagnoses and from a range of caregiving experiences. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform and the Whole Care Network. Remember, you are not alone. One can sing a lonely song, but we chose to form a choir and create harmony. Find us at allsauthors.com. See you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast on the Whole Care Network. I hope this episode provided encouragement and practical tips to infuse into your life. You'll find the show notes and all the resources mentioned at happyhealthycaregiver.com. I also invite you to check out previous episodes of the podcast that you may have missed. If you enjoy the show, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Ratings and reviews also help others discover the podcast, and sharing with a fellow caregiver is a great way to spread support. Stay connected with me between the episodes by following Happy Healthy Caregiver on your favorite social media platforms, and subscribe to the weekly newsletter where every week I share something happy, healthy, and care related. Just visit happyhealthycaregiver.com to join. Until our next episode, I'm Elizabeth Miller with a reminder to take care of you. Are you still here? Well, it's time for the disclaimer. I am not a medical, legal, or financial professional, and I am not providing medical, financial, or legal advice. If you have questions related to these topics, please seek a qualified professional. I have taken care to spotlight family caregivers and experts, but their opinions are theirs alone. This podcast is copyrighted, and no part can be reproduced without the written permission of Happy Healthy Caregiver, LLC. Thanks again for listening to the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast on the Whole Care Network.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.